This ain't no backyard story. This ain't no quiet tale. It's the fence show in Vegas, where legends set sail. Wood or vinyl, steel or aluminum shine. Automatic gates, your cutting edge design. Brian's here and you know he's a man. Cowboy hat tip got the master plan. It's the #1 show in the nation. FansShow.com, it's your destination. I'm still AG, fans on display. Come to Vegas, don't let this slip away. The strip's got its glitz, but we've got the grid. Access control so slick, you won't want to quit. Every post, every panel, standing tall and proud. At the fence show, we're drawing a crowd. From range-style dreams to city gates, this is where innovation waits. Vegas lights, the desert's call. Fence show's got it all. It's the #1 show in the nation. FansShow.com, it's your destination. I'm still AG, fans on display. Come to Vegas.
Woo!
Whoa.
Man, that song never gets old.
Yes, sir.
Looks like you're still always, man. It's like you live at that Vegas
I
fence
do.
show right there, huh?
I'm getting ready. I'm still here. Haven't left.
All right, everybody. Thank you for tuning in tonight. We're super excited. We've got a special guest today. You may know him. This is Sasha. He's the official janitor for Founders Fence. And
Yep.
if you're ever over at one of the locations, you need something straightened up, some new toilet paper or something, this is your guy.
Yep. Yes, sir. With some cleaning fluid.
Whatever your needs are. But all kidding aside, director of Founders Fence live on this podcast with us, which is really cool. So how you doing today, man?
Not too bad. For California, we've got flooding. We've got landslides going on at the moment. Our location in Arizona seems to have the snow going now. It's been a crazy week.
Yeah. Weather is everywhere. It's everywhere.
Yeah.
We had a roof leak in here. We just don't, like you guys, we don't get a lot of rain. So it's like, we don't even know how to handle it. It's just flooding all over the roads and all the stuff's filling up. It's just a mess. It's a mess, but it's good for the fence industry, right?
Hey, natural disasters tend to give us some business.
Yeah. We don't want anybody getting hurt, but we don't mind a fence falling over. But,
Yeah.
Right.
Right.
As long as it ain't one we just installed. Right?
That's true. That's true.
Hopefully it didn't fall over before you got paid, everyone. But
Yeah.
it's nice to have you on here. It's been a while since we chatted about anything. And I know we chat, anybody that knows us knows we're pretty good friends. So we chat on a regular basis. You probably followed us, and hell, we were just in the UK together up there. So that was
I'm surprised to let you into the UK, but
I know they may not again. But no, it was a good time.
I think so. No, it was good. Yep.
Yeah, big shout out to First Fence for hosting the first part of our trip out there and picking us up at the airport and setting us up and shuttling us around. It really did make the first few days early and visiting their facilities.
And it was good to see how other countries do fence and manufacturing and even the show over there it was just good to see, get another perspective of our industry and how intertwined it is.
Yeah. And it does go back to what we were saying, 1 degree apart. This isn't like a normal industry.
Yeah.
I mean, it was amazing walking around that FenceX show up in the UK, and it was just like here, you couldn't go 5 feet without either somebody saying they knew you or somebody you met at one of the other shows or was at the Vegas show. It was really cool to see how close of an industry we really are, even across the pond. They like to call it the pond.
Well, that is it the pond or whatever, but and I think that's what's cool about our industry, right? It's we've talked a lot about, people are either born in it, they stumble in it, they know someone, they get involved. But when you look at the global aspect of fencing, there's not much that separates us. Our industry itself, we're doing innovative stuff. There's new designs, there's new machinery that comes out. But as a whole, the fence goes post first and then everything else. And most of our countries these days, in our industry anyway, they're just so intertwined. And even ASTM codes and stuff like that, they're pretty much very similar across the whole countries and in the world. So it's very unique industry in that way. It's which is cool because I feel like we're a closed, more like, closed niche construction industry than probably anything else out there, to be honest.
Yeah, we are, but I noticed that there was a huge material difference in the style of everything from the iron panels to the temporary panels. And we've been talking about it for years, how it's changed and it's evolved. Even, I can't speak for the whole country, around the country, other than just the massive amount of conversations I have with people now, from the association and the fence show. So obviously I have a lot more conversations that I had, 5 years ago with people outside of my little bubble that I like to call Las Vegas. Right. But, it's grown a lot here in the last 20 years. 20 years ago, there was two different options. We were buying iron panels that were just raw steel with primed and powder coated, or even raw steel with just powder coated, a lot of local stuff. Right. Yep. So, and I think for decades, we just purchased primed and powder coated panels, or even primed and painted. I don't know if they were dipping them or how they were doing them back then, but the powder coated, the pre-galv and the powder coated iron panels was a completely different option. It was a more expensive option. So, but now it's pretty much the go-to standard. It's you're getting a pre-galv panel with some sort of finish, most likely, to protect it, and then also powder coated. But sometimes they don't. Sometimes it's just a pre-galv panel with powder coating. What are your thoughts on that transition? Why did that happen, and why aren't we still just doing raw with powder? If it worked in this area for so long, what's caused this shift? Is it that you get cheaper pre-galv materials now? Because there used to be a big difference. What do you think that reasoning is?
Look, I think I really believe a lot of that happened overseas first. My story, for those of you who don't know, I came out of the install side in Australia, and it was already all pre-galv material. The hard part was welding it, right? Making sure there was ventilation, and because it's a bit nastier to weld. I think back in the day, raw was the easiest product. Everything was made raw. You were either hot dipping it to protect the raw product, or you were simply painting it. You weren't even powder. It was paint. Sorry, my earbud just fell out. But yeah, I get too excited. So there was a couple of different transition, and then pre-galv is a better product than raw, right? It's got more longevity than raw steel. And it's a bit cheaper. You don't then have to hot dip it to protect the coating. So I feel like galvanizing came a long way in 20 years. So did the welding of it. There was a lot more technology, and, look at the packs that the guys use to weld now, to ventilate. So it became easier to work with, and it became more readily available because the process is cheaper, right? Like you said, you got pre-galv. Now you don't have to hot dip one. And the problem too with hot dipping, Brian, which in our industry, most of the people we send our hot dip to, their vats aren't that clean. Like there's better hot dippers than others, but then you don't get that blotching, and then you try to paint over the blotching, and it's not a finish, a smooth finish. And powder coating has come such a long way, that you got the different glosses. It gives you more life. You put more UV. I think over the last 15 to 20 years, the process is cheaper and the product quality is better as they've developed the paints. Back in the day, it was raw. You would hot dip, or you would just paint on site or paint. And it's not the same finish, because the problem with the raw is once it gets scratched, it just rusts. It's because it's raw. Right. It's going to get exposed to moisture, and with the galvanizing, you're already protected with the actual raw product. Then traditionally these days it's primed, and then it's powder coated. So you're getting that triple layer of protection. And I think as the iron industry expanded, you know, again, for good or bad, right? I'm not here to discuss import versus domestic. I still feel domestic is always going to be a little bit better, but it's a little bit more expensive. But the processes are now the same. It's generally, I would say in the market at the moment, you're looking at about 95% of any welded iron products, all pre-galv, primed and powder coated. And then these days too, they've got laser welding, which has changed our industry again. You're now not even burning the galvanizing. So traditionally where you would weld the pickets and the rails together, that's where you're leaving yourself open to rust, because you're burning off the galvanizing a little bit, where now with laser welding, it's a cold weld. It's an amazing technology, and you know, it's just adding extra protection versus the old days where if you go to a raw product and they're still around, you'll see peeling everywhere. You know, it just doesn't last as long.
Right. And I think one of the most interesting things you said was, you're right. When you were dealing with galvanizing material in the past, we didn't have as much EPA stuff to deal with back then either as we do now.
Yeah.
I mean, we were just spraying stuff in our makeshift paint booths and stuff, and they shut all those down. Now everything has to go to powder coating. But dealing with galvanizing, the venting was always an issue. And certain people, you know, I mean, a lot of it's just had fans and stuff set up, and now we're getting more into the respirators and things. So you think as we transition into more robotics and stuff, that became less of an issue, right?
Yeah, and I think that's another very important point, is robotics has changed every industry, not just ours. Look at the automotive industry. I mean, those are the guys that really got into robotics and, you know, production lines and stuff like that. So your robotics, again, you know, people don't realize robotics have been around for like 15 plus years. Like, they haven't just come up in the last decade. And as the robots are getting better and better, and, you know, they're, you know, because back in the day, there's a couple of companies I used to deal with that would make the gates, the chain link gates with robots. It's a robotic, but it would break down a lot, you know. So robotics was one of those things. It was great in theory, right? But it had a lot of issues, you know, with breakdowns and even our production lines in the iron side, you know, has changed too. And in Europe, what they consider a standard product, we don't in America. You know, they use a lot of welded wire, which is, you know, machine based. It's, you know, these machines are running the gauges through, the strand through, and spot welding, you know, and spitting it out the other side. So yeah, it's interesting, because I think a lot of this technology has come from other countries, and then as we've adapted it in America for ourselves, like, we are very unique because we have our own needs. I think that's where we're at this point now, where you'd be very hard now, depending on the gauges, will mean, okay, certain thickness gauges, we might have to go to a raw product. But if we're going to a raw product, we're 9 out of 10 times hot dipping it, just because they want a hot dip finish. So if somebody really wants that hot dip finish, then for sure we're going, you know, a raw product to hot dip, you know, on a hot dip.
But you're never going to get, you know, it's really hard to get that hot dip and not have it have those rough edges. And when you get those rough edges and little bubbles and stuff, not even bubbles, I don't know, slag almost, right? Yeah. You got that on the rail, and then you go and powder coat it, it's still there. And it just looks like it was something in the powder coating, or something went wrong. So it's really tough. I would assume not too many people, unless it's some government thing spec'd out where they're not picking it apart, would you have pre-galved. So that's, I mean, that's pretty interesting. There's no doubt. And then did you see well, we were in UK, we're at one of the facilities for First Fence, where they actually were punching a hole through the rail, and they lasered their name in it. I wish I could remember the name of what was on that product. It was their own product brand. And then it went through that top rail, and then it went into like a star diamond shape, or star that was cut out of it, and it was pressed in there. Have you seen some of that stuff? You think that's some product that's out there that's gonna, I think you'd have to have at least 3 rails to make that work, right? But and then the concept of that's brilliant, right? The concept is less mold, and there's less rust. There's less rusting points. So the concept's brilliant.
just like anything, you know, we get used to a certain way of doing anything in life, and I don't care what business it is, and it's hard to get change. I think, you know, the way I think the industry is sort of going these days, you know, we're fighting everything based on cheap, right? Which I get it. Everything's so much more expensive. You know, even, you know, living and just a whole lot right now in the States. And I think, you know, countries like Europe have already gone through that. So they've got cheaper products, and then they're trying to make products last as long as they can, which makes sense, right? You want a product, but I don't know if that's necessarily good for the industry or not. At the end of the day, you know, me putting in a fence or, you know, trying to compete in the market, cheap is not always good, right?
Right.
So as we develop, try to do, you know, especially in the steel industry, you know, aluminum is big over east, but where we are, Brian, it's not that big. It's
Right.
mainly all welded steel products is still bigger.
Right.
So I think, I don't know, we've tried as an industry, how far can you really go? Because it's a fence, right?
Right.
So I think the pre-galv is here to stay. It's whether you prime it or powder coat it. The finish is like, we can do a 20-year finish now on our powder coating. So it's a different level of UV. It's a different type of powder. So I feel like what's happened over the years is we've gone, okay, the core product's there. It's a steel-based product. Depending on how thick it is or what the product is, you might have to hot dip it, because it's like you said, you're doing a government job. They're using 3/4 inch solid pickets.
Right.
You know, you've got to have them in raw. You can't get them pre-galved. So certain items will historically have to go that route. But I think, you know, when you look at 60-70% of the products out there, it's all pre-galv, it's all powder coated and either primed and powder coated, and it's lasting, you know, 10+ years, so long as people aren't abusing it.
So tell me about pre-galv, and I'm asking you because I know you have a lot more experiences. You've been to the factories, China and here, and I mean you know quite a bit about the fabrication process. So you're not just selling panels or a product number. Most of these stuff you've actually helped design wherever you're having it made, right, or your factories and so on. So tell me about pre-galv. You know, I mean, I never knew it until someone else told me that most of those chain link posts we're getting, I guess I was always assuming growing up it was all hot dip galv, right? So a lot of the posts we're seeing, everything from the box stores, even what we're buying from the distributors, someone else told me, and you can verify this, are these mainly pre-galv posts?
Yeah, exactly. And, you know, there's different varieties, right? Domestic versus import. The thickness of the pre-galv has to be pretty much universal. That's why I said our industry is so intertwined. It doesn't matter what the ASTM's here, like 1043, 1083 on the posts. It's pretty much the same across the world. So it's the thickness of the galvanizing, the quality, right? So the real issue with galvanizing over the years has always been iron ore, right? That's the core product. Then they have to put some chemicals in, you know, to get it right. So what's happened years and years ago, and I'm sure you've been aware of it, there was some cheap galvanizing or not as good quality coming in where it's inline welded to form it round, it would split. It was real blotchy because there's bad iron ore in the countries out there that are producing. And I think that's sort of where the bad rep of galvanizing came from. But over the years, I haven't seen a split in a post around, you know, Schedule 40, SS20 for years. And I can tell you the country that it was coming from, and I'm not going to, but, you know, that sort of stuff's all, I find if you're getting it from a very not reputable company and you want really cheap, you might have issues. But these days, it's so strict to bring anything into America as well. And even for domestic people making it in the mills, that you can't, it's very hard to have rubbish products these days. Now, in manufacturing, are you going to have issues? Yes, I don't care who manufactures. I mean, look at cars, for example. You are going to have issues. It's manufacturing. The things are going to happen along the line. But generally, it's all negated these days with the quality of the iron ore, to be honest, because that's where it really begins, where you're getting it from, and then the manufacturing process. Everyone has a little bit of a different process, whether they coat that with a little bit of a better UV rating or UV coated on the pipe, but it's predominantly all pre-galv. Yep.
So if just to run a scenario, say somebody was to go buy 2 3/8 posts from one of the box stores, right?
Yep.
And whether it be Home Depot, Lowe's, wherever they happen to go to get the material locally. If someone was to buy one of those would be, I assume, pre-galv posts in most of those locations. There'd be a lot of import products in there. And they were to get a pre-galv post in there. Would that pre-galv finish be pretty similar to what you'd find on a Founders fence panel?
Yeah, exactly. So like their panels themselves, like the box stores that stock iron and also the chain link as well.
That's what I'm talking about. I'm talking about the chain link post, like a 2 3/8 chain link post.
Yep.
How would that pre-galv hold up against like the pre-galv on another, like somebody's iron panel?
Yeah, it'll hold up just as well. Like that's why it's pre-galv. If you look at chain link, you're talking a commodity product, right? It's the cheapest of the cheap. So most of it is pre-galv. Yeah, it's all pre-galv product. Now, GAW, which has been a big argument in our industry for years and years and years, I think, my opinion on that is the issue with GAW, which is galvanized after weaving, right? So that's a hot dip type of product, raw. The strand is weaved, it's then put through vats and it's shaken off. The GBW of today is just as good as the GAW without the little icicles, right? People are going to argue with me till we, I know this is an old argument because they're saying it's hot dipped and where the knuckles are cut at the bottom, it exposes it. But every chain link fence has a rusting point. Like it's actually on ASTMs and it will rust at a certain level. So look, at the end of the day, the pre-galvanized products, they're good. The warranty on GBW and the warranty on Jet, they're exactly the same. The fence gray's the same, right? Everyone wants shiny chain link, but after a month of you putting it up, it's dulling, you know what I mean? And then it will rust. It has a certain rust value to it. So yeah, it's hard, right? Pre-galv is the way to go. It's ready to go. That's why the box stores, unless they're like a custom ordered, it's all pre-galv. Even the fittings.
It sounds like you're taking a pre-galv post, which is pretty similar to a chain link post that you would put anywhere in the ground, and you put it in also because you put it in areas where you're worried about rust because it's got the pre-galv, right? So it's galvanized chain link posts. So that sounds to me like then, if anything, at some cases it'll be a step up because now you've got a pre-galv, then you've got a primer layer, then you've got powder coating over that. So you have to break through that powder coating primer before you even get to the to the actual pre-galv surface to start working on that. So it might even, in some cases, an iron fence that had the pre-galv primed and powder coated might actually hold up better than a chain link fence, if I'm reading this correctly.
Yeah, no, and I'll be honest with you, it does. I mean, that's why you're paying a little bit more for iron. It's going to last longer. Again, it's a sturdier fence too. So that, everyone's definition of lasting is different as well. Like a chain link is a cheap fence. And as you know, in our area in the West Coast, it's getting harder and harder to put in residential, right? You either have to go, in residential, you might have to go on extruded black or colored vinyl or polyurethane, whatever you want to call it, fence. But generally, chain link's getting phased out of residential. Where I'm from, originally Australia, you can't use chain link residentially at all. Just because too, it's it doesn't have the longevity of iron and some of these other fence, and it's because of the finish. Like you've just got this galv finish, where the iron is pre-galv, primed and powder coated. So you've got 3 layers of protection, and the powder, like I've had this argument, as you're aware, we're in Arizona as well, and people feel like that weather, the heat.
Yep.
Not anymore. Like back in the day, yes, back in the day, the UV coating was different inside the power. Like it's all just changed, and you can take a black fence in the middle of Arizona at 120, 130 degrees, and it will hold up.
Yeah.
In that heat,
Same thing here.
So,
I mean, it's in Las
yeah.
Vegas. We got pretty similar heat. So, it bakes. Anything we got here, it's like running it through the powder coat oven again every year.
Yeah. Yeah.
In Las Vegas. So, and we've had iron panels up for decades, but without seeing too much wear and tear. Other than you'll see some color fading sometimes every once in a while. But I mean, we're talking a long time down the road, but that's just normal, I think, anywhere. But even then, you wouldn't notice it. It had to be so gradual that it takes a while. But so that iron, like I said, iron. I'm a huge fan of iron. So we're going to do some tests in Florida as well when I'm down there for demo days, March 26th, 27th. Everybody, go to fentshow.com, get registered for demo days because that's going to be coming to Florida. You guys are going to be there. We're going to be bringing some of your panels, I heard, right?
Yeah, we will. We'll go and smash them around a bit and test them out and put them out into the out for the guys and the ladies to go and test it, right? So again, it's like the cool thing too about the industry at the moment, where it's going, and I mean, is it going in the right direction? Look, like anything, change is hard. It's hard for me. It's hard for everyone. So it's more, we're getting more, especially in America, to cookie cutter type of fencing. If we can buy off the shelf to a point, and put it up. I mean, that's just the way we're going. It's been that way. I think convenience and also quality has just taken leaps and bounds. And with our products, you can cut them. This is all pre-galv. You can cut it. Once you cut a raw product that's painted, exposing that metal to air and moisture and oxidization. That's what people don't realize. Once you scratch a raw product that's been painted, it oxidizes super quick, really quick. And that's where you get the white rust, the rust. And back in the day, what's that?
Even a minor scratch while you're installing it on that. It's just next thing you know, you got rust points wherever it might have touched something.
Yeah, and with pre-galv, like back in the day, there were white rust issues, the quality, the cleaning, and then you go powder coat something that has white rust, and you don't necessarily see it, but once the powder coating goes, it won't stick right. So what happens is you get the peeling that happens. And look, it happens to domestic guys as well. It's not a perfect art. We're manufacturing, but those days of having all these issues are gone. Like you can go down any of these developments and HOAs and in California, you can tell when something's just been raw and painted. It's already, it looks like rubbish. Like it's just, now hot dip's different. Like if you're hot dipping it, we're talking about that third layer of protection that you've been saying, but the old school way of raw and then powder coating is just, it's no one's doing it anymore.
There you have it, guys. Nobody wants rubbish. So, so find yourself some pre-galvanized, primed, and powder-coated panels. Get a hold of Sasha if he can help as well. And if you want to see these things in action, he's going to be bringing some of those down to demo days, so you'll get to actually touch and feel. And let's put these things up against some chain link posts while we're there, and kind of show you guys how sturdy it is and stuff. I know we use a lot of some panels from you as well, and some panels for Las Vegas Fence. So and from multiple places, and it definitely it's the way to go. We've been using them for years. But also I wanted to talk to you, Sasha, while I got you on here, because you do a lot with temporary fence.
Yep.
A lot with temporary fence. And when we were in the UK, there were some panels that they weighed half of what yours weighed, man. Yeah. Why do I want to haul your big heavy ass panels around when I could, lift these things up with a couple fingers?
And look, I'm not here to knock, we just talked about that earlier, right? Cheap is not necessarily bad, but when you're like the market and you're going to bring in a product and it's very price oriented. Like, so the one thing about temp fencing, it's a commodity as well, right? It's just like chain link. It's temp, right? Temp fence. So that word says cheap, basically. And there's 20 gauge stuff out there that, bends. Now, do people want it? Sure. But when they ask me, Sash, well, why can I get these panels for $50 and your panels are $61? And my first question is, what's the gauge? Because you got to compare. My only thing is, I don't like, everyone's got to do what they got to do to survive in their own business, but you can't compare apples to let's make correct comparisons. And I feel like that's my big struggle, is when I get told, oh, well, I could go down the road and get this product, and it's coming in from Temp Fencing at the moment. There's a couple of companies that are making a 20 gauge product that is seriously light. And look, if that's what you want to use, fine. It will not last. Again, what America is unique, not unique, but different, is that they reuse Temp Fence, right? These are throwaways. So these are disposable, basic. Other countries in the world, it's a one-time use. They're not putting them up to rent on the cheaper gauge, on the lighter gauge products. So in the Temp Fence industry, you're not reusing these. I don't care who you are out there, because they're cheap. And sure, if you need to be price sensitive and you're okay with a lighter gauge, and it's not just the frame now, you're talking a lighter gauge opening, the gaps, especially if it's a welded wire type of product. That's, again, you're taking away.
Let's talk about that for a second, Ben. So when we say gauges, there's not everybody listening does temporary fence. In fact, there's a lot of people that might be listening that don't do any chain link at all. So, when we start talking about the gauges sometimes of the pipe and the 1 3/8, 1 5/8, is something that they don't deal with on a daily basis. So a standard, we've been selling and renting out temporary panels for decades here, at Las Vegas Fence. So I think our standard panels would be a 1 3/8 frame, and that's 16 gauge because it's made out of the same materials we'd use for our top rail on fences, residential fences. So we would have a 1 3/8 frame, right? 16 gauge, and we'd have normally one upright.
Yep.
And a 10-foot long. We use 10 foot. A lot of people only use 12 and things like that, but we use a lot of 10-foot panels. So even on a 10, we'd have one upright that went straight up, and that's typically the same, 1 3/8 notched, and that's welded. And every once in a while, you'll find some that are bent, on the two top parts. We don't really do those. We do fully welded, and then it's a 2 3/8 inch mesh, I believe, on the wire, 11.5 gauge. So
how we've sort of the industry on the Temp Fence has gone away from, not all, but like we have gone away from an upright as an 1 3/8, because when you stack Temp Fence and all the frame is all 1 3/8, we've got a 1 inch upright that goes up vertically, because when you stack it now, it stacks like thin. Like, so when you put it on your trucks, it's easy to carry.
Okay.
So we don't budge off the 16 gauge. We're open to talking to people about doing a 20 gauge product. But here's the next problem. When you're welding a 20 gauge panel, and better, Brian, you have a welding shop.
You got to be. It's like,
yeah. And then on top of that, we have clients that want rings, right? So in certain areas, there's welded rings on the panels, and then they drive the posts in for stability, right? Rather than use our stands or sandbags or our weights. When you put windscreen on these panels, they just bend in half. And then how do you weld? And again, it doesn't matter, right? I'm not here knocking anyone that's wanting this product or buying it or making it, but it's got to be apples to apples, right? So that's the education part is, okay, well, you've got this version that, yes, is cheaper than the standard version that Founders has and a lot of other Temp Fence suppliers have, but there's a reason, because you can't weld as well. I'm not going to say you can't weld, but good luck trying to weld rings and do proper welds on a 20 gauge product. It's light. You're blowing out the welds. Your welds are, can have pitting in it, and then that's the problem. You got pitting, you got rust. And in America, it's not, and maybe it's going to go that way where it's just going to be a disposable type of panel. But I find it hard to believe that these site services companies are going to go with the throwaway, because they have so many people that, they rent it, it comes back, the damage, they'll take the chain link off, they'll rewire the chain link, they might have to weld pieces on it, and you just can't do that as effective, if not at all, on these lighter gauges, and that's the issue. So it's a very short. I don't know where it's going. It's here in America. I won't lie. I've been dealing with it for the last 4 weeks, 6 to 4 weeks, and what do we do as a company? Do we go, okay, let's offer one of these products and call it a disposable temp? Well, I don't know, but that's the problem.
I'm curious because, I mean, for us, and we're not a cheap rental company. Obviously, we do more specialty event kind of things. Sometimes we don't really chase the work where it's 10 cents a foot, to put it up. So even then, I probably got to rent it out 2-3 times before we get our money back out of it. So I don't know how I would be able to do it if you're renting them out, multiple times with a lighter gauge, because they even still get a little beat up. But and I don't know if you remember, they all had the rings on them a while back. Everything had rings on them. Those stands, they really didn't exist much for where you would just have the 2 bars going up where you'd slide the panel, the ends of the 1 and 3. It's over them. It was mainly those rings, and you either pound a post or you went down into a stand, from that one ring. So it's interesting to see how that's evolved, and that probably evolved more because we stopped building them as much locally, and that took up too much room. With those rings, it'd be even harder to stack, right, and take more time.
Well, not just that. So the problem with the rings, it's a couple of big companies back 20, whenever they really had the rings, and I got it back then. We had more land, we got more, to drive it in the ground. Strength and durability will be everybody's argument with driving it through the rings. But let's talk about just transporting it. Firstly, transporting panels with rings, you're getting a lot more damage because they just don't sit right. And then when you're dragging them out or you're moving them around to load, and it's twice as you're getting more damage just off the bat. So as technology changed, these stands, and especially in built up areas, look, I get it. Like, we're fighting this battle in Arizona. There's a lot more land, right? So it sort of makes sense to a lot of people to drive it in the ground. But how do you change? Like, one thing I will always challenge everyone is, okay, makes sense. Don't fix something that's broke. But we have these panels over here, and in most bad weather, rain, more wind, and Arizona's just like a windy as, your 10 fence panels fall over even with the post driven in to the ground. So how do you fix it though? Like, just to go and replace that versus a panel with a stand where and again, people are going to argue with Sash, but it'll fall over, but there's less falling over than there are stands. Well, I'm like, we've got weights. You don't have to use sandbags anymore. And I think it's changed a little bit, but certain areas will never change, right? And you've got to adapt as a manufacturer too. You can't just go in and tell everyone, that's right, because it's not.
You're never going to shove an idea.
No.
You're never going to shove an idea down a large percentage of fence companies' throats and expect them to take it. We could be doing it the wrong way for 20 years. And if you came and tell us the way you have to do it, we're going to tell you to go kick sand because we're we don't like to be told what to do. But it has evolved, and I've seen it go from those to from the rings over to the regular stands. And back then it was rings, but it was 12 and even 14-foot long panels, if you remember that.
Yes.
So
and our stands that we've developed, they're a solid rod stand that are drilled and they're welded top and bottom. Yeah. So it gives you, because a lot of the stands that are out there are 1 inch hollow. Yeah. So what happens, and they're just welded on the top of the stand. So when the winds come, they just snap right at the top, where ours is drilled through. It's a solid rod. It's a 3/4 inch solid rod, and it's welded top and bottom to give it that strength. And then, look, sandbags are sandbags, but then weights have come such a long way. We've got plastic. Sorry, it is what it is. It's temp fence. I get it. It's got to get it up. You got to maintain it. So to answer your question, the American market is unique to anywhere in the world. Even though we're all connected and we sell sort of similar products, but the American market is American, right? So it's about how do you. So that's why pre-galv has taken off, because it wasn't changing what the American market wanted. It was just giving a all-round better product, more easier. And once the welding got better and fumes and all of that sort of got fixed, it just changed, and it's a good product. So temp fencing is going to be very interesting because, yeah, I've had to field some calls in the last month or so that have been, at times frustrating because but it's a light gauge. What do you want to do with that when it falls over, and bends in half?
Well, like you said, I think the iron panels going from just raw material powder coated, it didn't happen overnight. It happened over a period of decades, right? So, but it was always there. The pre-galv with the primed and powder coated was always there. It was there 20 years ago in the books. So when I was ordering iron panels, from builders, or we get a lot of stuff from Builders Fence and stuff locally up here. So into Las Vegas. So when I was ordering, it was always there. It was just two pricing. You had this price, and we were ordering maybe that, but then every once in a while we'd offer this other one, right, to somebody that wanted maybe a little bit more protection or better coverage or something for the panel. But maybe that's how this whole market's going to change. Maybe we got to tell them, hey, here's your pricing, or on the iron panels, we got to say, hey, here's our temporary panels. Here's your 20 gauge ones, and here's your 16. Maybe it's the only way they're going to understand the difference between the two.
I think yes and no. I really believe options are good for everyone, but at the end of the day, at some point, to be an issue, right? Because in everything, you can only go cheap as you can go, right? That, I go to this website, it's coming from here, it's really cheap, but you pay what you get. But in our industry, where it's not just a one-time use, it's got to be, multiple use. In temp fencing, it's traditionally always multiple use. Like you go put the temp fence out, and then you come back, and you reuse it 3 or 4 or 5 times. So, and this is sort of how we're trying to educate people. You have to buy this again on the next one. Right. My panels are better because when I say better, they're going to last you longer, and you're going to be able to turn the product a couple of times, and then. Okay, you're going to have to buy a panel. By the time you bought your second panel for another job, you already paid way more than me. So it's tough because I'm with you. I think, we've discussed this for years, me and you, Brian, and I warned everyone 5 or 6 years ago, and I was working for the big guys, that at some point it's all going to be about price. It's what's going to happen. And we're at that place, I believe, in fencing where quality is not necessarily... It's important, but when you can bring in lighter panels like that, then is it? But I feel like it will flip again because there's certain products that you're going to look at and go, oh, we can't skimp on that. You know what I mean?
It's either going to happen that way, or people are going to start, I guess, once they place some orders, or you never know. 16 gauge, it's all going to be 1 3/8. I don't think we're going to get away from that because we've got too much invested into the clamps and everything. So to change it from 1 3/8 might even be more difficult, right? But if the temporary panels do evolve, maybe there ends up being 2 different types of temporary panels in the U.S. A 16 gauge and a 20 gauge, right? And you never know. I'm going to try to get you to make me some 24 gauge, but
right.
I don't want to.
Where do we stop?
I don't want to break a sweat. I want to go out and put up 100 panels without breaking a sweat. Maybe using one arm in case I want to hold my coffee in the other one and still build my temporary fence with this one. I want to be. I want to build fence like this, Sasha, like this. Yeah. Just using this hand.
No, I'd love that. And then I want to build it with a robot so I don't have to do anything.
I told you, I'm getting one. I'm going to get those. They got those robots like $16,000 right now. I'm waiting to order one. And then first thing I'm going to do is teach one how to build, how to dig holes. Then I'm going to teach another one how to line the holes. And I'll teach another one to mix concrete. Next thing you know, we get to a job site, about 16 robots are going to come out.
Right? And they're going to screw it up even worse. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. No. And I think, look, that's it. Like it's how low do you want to go? And I think there's going to be a floor because you can't go. There's cheap and then there's doesn't last. So I think we'll work it out. Probably going to be, like you said, options. But at some point you can't. you just can't. You've hit the floor. Like anything after that is okay. How light are we going to go? You know?
Yeah, I think
this
16 and 20 gauge conversations definitely it could have a whole entire episode about that. And I'd like to get some more information and do some drawings and spec. Maybe we'll have another one. If anybody's interested in that, drop it in the comments if you're interested about having a full-blown conversation about the industry when it comes to temporary fence. And maybe maybe we could sit down and look at some different options too. Everything from driving the post to stretching the wire, and also having the panels, and when's the right time to use temporary panels versus actually pounding the post and just stretching the wire, and how do you do the gates and things like that. So I think we'll follow up with another episode on that. But I don't want to leave you here without talking again about Demo Days. So Demo Days is March 26th to the 27th. And we're doing it. It's going to be near Orlando. It's about 30 minutes away. And we're pretty excited to have everybody get a little bit more information here. So go to fenceshow.com. You can see we're going to have the Demo Days area set up here. We're going to have a huge parking lot as well as the demo areas, booths. You can see the booths here. Everybody that gets a booth, it's filling up pretty quick. I think some of these rows and aisleways are already actually full. It comes with a tent, the table, the chair, and a trash can, because we don't want the trash all over the demo arena. But there's going to be all kinds of really cool stuff happening. You can see the fishing ponds up there for the kids, trike racing, and all kinds of things, activities, food trucks. So if you get a chance, go to fenceshow.com, check it out. Click on it, register for Demo Days. Let us know you're coming. Bring your kids, the whole family. It's only $25 for a person, for an adult to get in, $5 for kids at the time when you come in. And that's just so we can get a head count on who's coming to make it a little bit easier for us. But we're going to have fishing poles. We're going to have all that stuff there as well for the kids. So if you tuned in, definitely go check out Demo Days. We're excited to have everybody with us here in Florida. It's our first time coming out to Florida on such an event like that. Sasha, thank you for your insight. It's always good chatting with you. All right,
thanks, man. Appreciate it.
We'll talk to you guys later.